house or a hex. This is life, wheelbarrow full of regrets. I do this for my fam. If you messing with that, you gon' make me give you a permanent mess. And you don't want that. This is not for the block. This is for my people trying to think out the box. This hook ain't for the streets. Get out the box.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, across the world and the intertubes. I'm your host, Chris George Zuger, and you have entered the Den of Lore. Grab your glasses of scotch, pull your chair up to the fire. Well, because apparently we are going to be having a roundtable discussion on this Tom DeLonge stuff. I'm trying to be a little bit more fair and balanced in my broadcasting ways, so I've got a panel of hosts of various different UFO-focused shows on the show today, and I'm going to be introducing them all to you. And I know some others have joined in the last little while, so I have only briefly met some of them. This should be fun. So if you do watch the show and you are subscribed, thank you very much. If not, click on the subscribe/follow/watch this on a constant basis, and don't forget to click on YouTube, the little alarm thing there that'll let you know when we go live. And as well as don't forget to check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn, as well as denoflore.com for our MP3 episodes. And I would like to say thank you very much also, and give a shout out, as we do at the start of every single episode, to our patrons. They are the reason we can do the show. They help me keep the bills under control so we can continue to bring this show week in, week out with our crazy cast of characters. To our illustrious masters, to Jackie from across the pond, to Pat from Brooklyn, to Kevin Fothy, our masters, Lee Veltman, Chuck Schwartz, Antonio Martinez, Frederick Johnson, Jared Thompson, Mrs. Fox, Roses, Wayne, Joshua Ematic, Ellen McCurdy, and Mark Catalano, as well as to the rest of our patrons, who, even for them, if you can give $1 a day and help keep the show going, much appreciated as well. To Matthew Toth, Michael Eckhoff, Dean John Kenward, Anthony Derry, Atlanticush, Venice from Magical Egypt, Sentient, and Robin. Thank you so much for all of your continued support and ensuring that independent broadcasting can stay out of the hands of those corporations, because we are 100% commercial free and corporate sponsor free, and we want to be able to stay that way so we can say whatever the hell we want on this show, just the way you guys like it. So let me just switch over here, and every single time I do this switch, I always have, my webcam actually stayed on. Hello everybody, how are you doing today? Normally for the opening segment, I'll go from the mailbag, or I'll just jump right into it. So I think today we're going to be jumping right into it. On the round table today, we have, if everyone wants to be able to introduce themselves, and I believe we have Walter currently on camera at the moment. Again, myself, Chris George Zuger, host of Den of Lore. Michael Huntington, who is the host of Enigmas and Shit, along with myself as his cool sidekick. And I believe we've got Darren coming from the Igloo from Grimerica. And there we go. You're on camera, Darren. Pleasure to have you along. There we go. And I know that we've got, oh man, who else is, I'm still seeing some people that have not been listed. So can you guys just introduce yourselves and go right ahead?
I'm Garrett Lee I'm here with Darren, standing in for Graham. And I'm from California.
And next?
I'll go next. I'm MJ Banias. I'm a contributor with Serious Universe, and I have my own blog at Terra Obscura.
Someone is.
All right, I'll go next. I'm Rich Giordano from the Paranormal Code. I am a UFO skywatcher, researcher, realist, and skeptic, and I am here to express my true feelings.
I'll go. I'm Joe Rupe, host of Lighting the Void Radio, and producer of TheFringe.fm.
And Darren, if you want to be able to say hello, that now that your microphone is back up.
Oh, was my microphone off?
Well, I had the entire channel down, so if when I introduced you, you may not have actually been able to say anything.
Hi, I'm Darren. Chicken head is big ground for the day.
And Michael Huntington, you're also here as well, who is also the author of Strange Travels blog, so you can go check that out as well. Gentlemen, Tom DeLonge. We've honestly, the thing is, each and every single one of us has at least said some comment on this over the last couple of weeks since he made his announcement. I'm pretty well sure at this point that my feelings have been made. I did have that funny picture on Enigmas and shit that I made. And I know that for myself, I'm going to stay neutral this entire conversation, which I know for anybody out there can be very difficult to believe. Yes, all I'm going to be doing is moderating. So, and Michael, if you want to bring up the main topic and be able to explain it for the folks at home, that would be much appreciated.
All right. Well, for those who have not been following the UFO world, i.e. the UFO community, the UFO subculture, UFO media, UFO journalism, what has been happening the past couple of years is former Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge has made it known that he is a UFO aficionado and that he has used his notoriety and his contacts to get inside, secret programs and to find out, some of the mysteries surrounding the phenomenon. And he has put forth an entertainment company, To the Stars, and he has a number of projects, and he has put out some books, fiction books, as well as pseudo-fiction conspiracy type books related to the subject. And he has promised over the past year or so that he was going to reveal some big things relative to the UFO phenomenon, or relative to projects that he has been working on with some people within high positions. Last year, this subject with Tom and these secret contacts came to the mainstream media and to the forefront when WikiLeaks verified that he was at least having conference calls with some high-level people around Tom Podesta and some people in military and intelligence positions. So that added a little bit of credibility to his accounts. Tom does have a reputation of being excitable and putting forth promotion of his projects. That's sort of his reputation. But when the WikiLeaks thing came, it hit the mainstream media, and it added credibility so much to where Tom was actually named by the International UFO Congress last February as the UFO Researcher of the Year, which received some mixed responses within the UFO community, research community, and the UFO subculture, pretty much because he hasn't really delivered the goods yet. And since that time, he has appeared on radio, a number of different programs, including Coast to Coast, making promises of bigger things to come. And a few weeks ago, we finally got around to hearing what he had in mind, and what it was the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, which has tapped a number of high-level people within the intelligence community, and I guess some science people, pretty much in order to do experimental investigation into exotic UFO-related technology, as well as, and this is primarily the main focus now as they seek funds to promote Tom's continued entertainment ventures. And when they had a press conference a couple of weeks ago in Seattle, they revealed this initiative. It is an investor-driven initiative, crowdfunding that seeks investors. And right now, I think they're approaching $2 million in funds that they've gained from people within the community and probably part of his fan base. And that's what we're here to talk tonight about, whether or not Tom is an asset to the UFO community, to the UFO discourse, if he's going to fulfill his promises. What's the deal with these intelligence guys? Can they build the technology? Do they have enough funds? What can we look forward to? What can we give our input with regards to this, as to how it plays out within the whole UFO subject? So I guess we can go on from there.
Okay, fantastic. Now, the first one, I know this is something that you gentlemen have not probably seen yet, but Exclaim Magazine, exclaim.ca, it's a Canadian publication, yesterday released an article by Josiah Hughes, or Hughes, if to all of you Americans, and with the headline stating, Tom DeLonge wants you to stop calling him crazy for researching aliens. So the first thing that I'm going to throw out to everyone is whether researching aliens is crazy or not.
I think it's necessary. I mean, it's kind of a logical thing to do. There's weird stuff that you can't explain. I think investigating is probably always a good idea. I just think it's where you take it from there that it gets iffy.
It's only crazy to the people who don't do the research and don't know the history and don't know what it's like to get out there and actually do the research. So anybody who's calling you crazy, I bet you $1,000 they have never researched at all.
And Richard?
Pardon?
Oh, sorry. And Richard, you're up next.
Oh, I was just speaking.
That was Rich.
Sorry. That monitor is off. I do apologize. Sorry.
I think Walter's itching to say something. I can tell.
How do we know when we're up? Does our face pop up on the screen?
Well, no, it should be that I'm actually calling your names out.
Okay. I'll wait till you call my name.
You want me to go now?
No, well, you just had yours. So Walter, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's not that there aren't aliens. It's not that it's not worth digging into and researching. I think the problem that a lot of us have, speaking for myself, is that right now I have zero faith that DeLonge is going to bring anything to the table in UFO or ET research. Researcher of the year, what did he do? He read a bunch of books. And he met with some guys and listened to them tell him stories. I question that whole researcher of the year thing, but again, it's not that there aren't aliens. It's not that, there aren't UFOs. I think the problem simply is that they're playing the field in the bad way.
And MJ.
No, I to answer the first question, I don't think it is sort of crazy to propose that, potentially the UFO phenomenon is, or originates from sort of aliens or extraterrestrials. I don't think that's sort of a crazy thing to think. And I sort of agree with Walter here. I think there, in regards to the Tom DeLonge issue, what has he brought to the table? Apart from, a handful of contacts and I guess contractors, according to the company circular that came out, this group of contractors, I guess. And I have to be honest, it is somewhat impressive, their pedigrees here. You're not dealing with, Joe Schmo off the street who just sort of had an experience. You're dealing with people who sort of, I guess, supposedly or allegedly are in the know. So I do have to give them credit for that. Now, again, is this sort of a Benoit situation where, as Walter kind of says, maybe they're playing the field here a little bit, and maybe, Mr. DeLonge's just a bit of a patsy? I don't know. But that sort of remains to be seen, or that will sort of time will only tell. But no, I don't think researching aliens, or I don't think sort of the study of UFOs or anything like that is crazy. That's nonsense.
And Richard, you're up next.
Okay, I will. I'll just say what I said before, is that basically, people who are calling us crazy or that researching aliens is crazy, they don't do the research. They don't go out there and meet these people. They don't have experiences. I take offense to that, actually, when I hear people say that. So I don't really talk to a lot of people about it in the open like I used to, because I know they're talking about me behind my back. So that's fine. We just sift through this and do the best we can, and hopefully we're not crazy in the end when the aliens do show their faces to us all.
And Joseph, do you have a comment on that?
Well, I just think that his whole premise isn't really about just aliens. In fact, I don't think he's crazy. I don't go down that road of the agenda just yet because you haven't asked the question. I don't trust the agenda, but I think even Tom himself might be being led down an agenda that he's not aware of. So, but that has nothing. But researching aliens and saying that's crazy, that is a bit offensive for, I would say, just like Rich says, for all of us that have actually done a little bit of research. And I know Rich has been out in the field, so yeah, it's kind of hard to even agree with that at all.
And Darren.
Yeah, I don't know. I think to each their own sort of thing. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm happy to entertain anyone who's done it and hear what they found.
And not Graham.
So, I think I obviously have no problem with the UFO research stuff. I think that's great. I'm a weirdo too. So, if you want to be a weirdo in your own way, that's perfectly fine. But as far as Tom DeLonge goes, it seems like the guy is partially honest. Like he partially believes what he's saying and he partially doesn't. He knows he's being used and he wants to make a bunch of money. But I think he also believes these people are actually going to tell him something, which is they're not. There's no way. Unless they're transitioning this over to a private sector deal because they think they might actually be able to get somewhere, but they're not smart enough to do that. So I think he's being used, but I do think there's a part of him that's earnest. I just don't think it's all of them. I think he definitely has ulterior motives as well.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Bergia may have actually joined us on this call while we were getting set up here. Joe, are you with us?
I'm here.
Now, Joe is a 20-year or 25-year camera operator of various shows out of Nevada. Has also been interested in UFOs and been following the subject for 20 years. And I know that he has, if he's seen it in terms of show business. So when it comes to that, he is the voice to give us a straight deal. And I know that he doesn't sugarcoat stuff. So I invited him on here. And again, thank you very much. I know you've been working all day today. What have you, well, first of all, is researching UFOs a crazy subject to go after?
Yeah, for me, it's not researching UFOs is crazy. And I'm baffled at the people I know that have zero interest. And once again, if you ask them why they have no interest, they won't even respond. And I know it's because they haven't done zero research, studying, nothing. I can't get anybody to respond except for the few people I know that are interested in the subject. So it's strange to me. I don't know if they're afraid of it. They think it's crazy, but some of the people that are talking about it, like today, I posted something about Robert Bigelow. Take 2 seconds to just look at the guy. The guy is an accomplished CEO, billionaire. He might know something. He might have studied the subject, at least interact on the subject, but people don't. The people at least that I know, 500 people on Facebook, nothing, zero. It's kind of depressing.
Now, the next subject I'm going to go is more towards people who hoax videos, or at least will present information that may or may not have been hoaxed. This was released by the Daily Express about 9 hours ago, and apparently Tom DeLonge has stated that U.S. found an alien life form during the Cold War, but did not release it. This is not involving Roswell, and from what I'm reading from this Daily Mail article, again, it goes, first paragraph specifically talks about that the government has hid this information, and the second and third is regarding the To the Stars Academy. Now, I know that there was a video that was presented to the world for the last big announcement, or at least his big announcement with his staff. What are your thoughts on that video, and what are your thoughts on the credibility of To the Stars based on that information being released?
Well, I'll go ahead and start with that. Which video are you referring to? You're referring to the gun camera?
The gun camera video, correct.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of goes back to our last question that I think we may have missed a little bit. The question was, relative to Tom DeLonge, is there UFO investigation actually going on here? And I would argue that unless those scientists, maybe Chris Mellon, I think, within Tom's organization, he's connected to UFO data. That's a group that is actually interested in studying the phenomenon. But as far as the way it's been laid out, I'm not seeing much investigation within Tom's organization of the actual phenomena. We are talking about him revealing disclosure, like through his intelligence sources, evidence of things that may have happened that the government has kept track of. And this Nimitz story, which was part of his presser a couple weeks back, was one of the bits of information, secret, supposedly information that was released. And subsequently, since then, this footage supposedly taken by jets that were part of the Nimitz carrier fleet, I guess in 2004, when they had this encounter with this strange craft called the Tic Tac because of its shape. This has been the one story, the one leak, the one disclosure that has come out that has some sort of evidence. Although, even the evidence is sort of suspect here, because a number of researchers are pointing out that this gun camera footage has actually been around for a while. That it's possible that it's connected with hoaxers, So I think if Tom is going to, through his organization, release some sort of disclosure type information, it's incumbent upon him to make sure that it's fully vetted and that we can get to the bottom of these sources. I think therein lies a lot of the problems with and criticisms with Tom's organization, in that, these intelligence type people are not really accessible. None of them have been interviewed since the presser, and the sources and the chain of evidence for a lot of this stuff is, just sort of trust us, I can't reveal my secrets sort of type deal. And for the research community that is looking for evidence, it sort of is not really going too far. So I think. Primarily his organization is an entertainment / experimental technology organization. We have yet to see anything really substantive wise that gives us any sort of evidence or suggests that there's actually going to be any kind of real scientific investigation whatsoever. Hopefully, as I said before, UFO data, which will be involved with his organization, can actually develop some sort of projects. There's rumors that the new group SCU and possibly even MUFON might be involved with DeLonge's group in some capacity on project related capacity.
My question would be which MUFON, the standard investigator MUFON, or the guys who follow the whole Corey Good whistleblower thing? That's the problem with MUFON right now, is you really do have to identify, which among them. And I don't think that would help Tom to get involved with, that faction of MUFON, because I do agree that he's sincere. Nothing has made me 100% cynical on him Now, notice I said 100% because there is a percentage of cynicism I have with him and the whole thing. I'll be surprised if anything that he's promising seriously comes out of this To the Stars Academy, this whole venture. I think it's just one more thing to flim-flam the UFO field. But on the footage issue, that's the problem. They released this Tic Tac thing, and immediately people are able to point out the problems with it. And the same with the have you seen the triangular one with the big white light in the middle? I mean,
TR3B footage. Yeah.
Yeah, the alleged, and even Rogan couldn't keep a straight face, when he's showing it on there, and people were immediately, saying, "Gosh, Tom, really? This?" So it's hard for me to be, and I commend Chris. It's hard for me to be fair with this whole To the Stars thing. I think that it's, on the whole, it's a very cynical grab for spotlight attention and an attempt again to dominate the UFO media field in a way that it hasn't been done before. So in the meantime, the serious researchers get marginalized, get not listened to for 6 months, 2 years, however long these guys are going to be out there in the mix, hogging the spotlight until they either realize it's a failure, they're not going to make the killing they want to make, or they indeed make that initial windfall that they want to make. So I have a hard time buying so far anything that they've come out with. And the former intel guys. Now, I'm a former federal agent. I'm, Air Force officer, former FBI guy, all that stuff. And I'm out here, writing my books, talking my stuff. But one thing I do not do and will not do is share classified things that I learned on the job. Even if it backs up what I'm saying, I'm not going to share that, the specifics of that. So that's the problem I have with, these retired intel guys helping him on this, because everything I've read indicates that they haven't really told him anything substantial. And if they have, my question from my perspective is, to what degree have they violated their, secrecy agreements? And then there's the other whole issue of the O word, operational. To what degree is this what we call, and I'm very familiar with professionally, perception management? That they're playing on the field, they're playing, through Tom.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I right now on the surface, what I see are a bunch of guys, some of them you heard of, Hal Puthoff is out there and stuff, a bunch of guys who are retired. And this is the superficial thing that I see. A bunch of guys who are retired, and they see this as, let's go with this kid's lark, and maybe we'll make a bundle of money in our golden years. And beneath that might be some type of, just more perception management, throw disinfo out into the UFO field. So,
Yeah, I have to agree. This is, I definitely talked about this in my article concerning the situation, but I agree with you, Walter. I think Tom's voice within the UFO community is significant. I think, like you say, he's going to kind of drown the rest of the researchers out, the rest of the investigators out, and you're going to have this sort of swelling of media information around him, and anyone else doing any other research, or even anyone else doing research that I guess opposes directly his theories. Are going to be viewed as sort of outcasts and outsiders within the subculture, right? Like they're going to be literally subcultures within the subculture.
They're going to be labeled jealous and angry that they're not getting the spotlight. For the time that he gets the spotlight.
And yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Yeah.
And to Joseph.
Well, that's already happening in a way. I've already heard some show hosts, stick up for Delonge and say they were angry with Joe Rogan because he was being, quote, too mean. I think Joe asked the right questions. I think Joe asked the questions that needed to be asked. You're asking us to you want me to give you $200 for a share in a company that has government officials behind it that maybe said 2 sentences to us. I don't know why they're there. you know. And I don't know, like Walter said to me, that I think that there could possibly be a perception agenda there, or something where they're trying to keep this guy under wraps. Did he reveal something in Secret Machines? Possibly. But do you really think that those guys behind Delonge are going to allow that to get out? You know, do you really think any of that's going to happen? So it's like they're playing with this little kid who's so excited about this new toy he got, and he might have stumbled upon something, but they will never let him reveal any of it. So I don't know that they're not just playing all of us. And it isn't fair to other researchers that this is happening, you know.
What if Trump wanted to privatize the UFO research the government does, and told them he'd cut off their funding? They had to pay their own way, and they lifted some of the stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be a heck of a Twitter battle going on too.
I'm making no comment on that as a Canadian. To Richard.
I feel, I've been thinking about this since the day he came out with this To the Stars thing, and I kind of have a feeling, being an Italian, that this may be like a storefront for something else. I feel this is something that we are never going to see the light of day of, because if you think about it, the footage is crappy that we saw, right? I mean, you don't get a reference point on that, the gun video, whatever it is. And then the other one, I don't even want to say what the other one, that's fake all the way through. But this has to be something other than what we're seeing, because now they're almost at $2 million. It's going to take $500 billion to build what he wants to build, I would think. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I would think it would be a lot more than just $100 million, $200 million. I'm thinking billions and billions of dollars to make a spaceship or whatever. Yeah. I do think it's unfair to the researchers out there who do have real UFO videos, real research, real evidence, trace evidence, all that stuff. It might be pushed to the side, but we have to keep doing what we're doing here, and that's keep the voice of the people, the voice of our community intact, and make sure that we keep this guy in check for whatever he's up to. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't feel, I know people say he's genuine and all that, but I get it. He sounds like it, but he's also a performer. He's somebody who's been on stage, who acts the part. He can be the role. And I think he said, let me be that guy. I can do this, guys. I can do it. So for whatever reason, they passed the baton on to him, maybe because he's from the band, he's got a following already. I don't know. But I think it's a front for something else. That's it.
And Darren.
Hi. I kind of agree with Garrett in a little way. Yeah, in some ways not. I don't know about the Trump comment, but I know like that's kind of something that popped into my head is almost like the production of, because everything I'm seeing north of the border seems more and more like you guys are forming some sort of Ministry of Truth 1984 scenario down there. So I mean, it seems natural that you'd want some sort of state-approved UFO vein to the, that this will become kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good alternative. Maybe Rogan himself, some people would say. But, just kind of the CIA back channel sort of, this is going to become the new, maybe not for all of you guys that are all plugged into it, into the community, you all see through it, but, the other 95% of the people, this is all of a sudden going to become their line to the unknown. And I mean, in some ways it probably is a bad thing in the short term, but in the long term, this is probably going to blow over, and maybe a couple more million people will stick around interested in UFOs. Would be my 2 cents. I mean, to be honest, I don't really have a dog in the UFO fight. Like I say, I love to talk about it and hear the stories, and I've seen in my own UFO, but it's just never been something that's grabbed me. Like I do the show for, I have a lot of other interests in the show that really grab me. The UFO thing has always been sort of Graham side of things, but I mean, I don't discount it, and I'm happy to talk about it. But at the same time, anyone who goes palling around with the Podestas and the Clintons, and then is all of a sudden asking for money, I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, they could be washing money for all I know. Like these crowdfunding things are all of a sudden the perfect way to start washing money.
Well, didn't DeLonge come into this with $400,000 debt that he transferred? Well, heck, that's covered already with the $2 million, right?
Exactly.
So,
Podesta's
if it fell apart today, he's got his 400,000 covered.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
That was actually that's the next topic I'm bringing up, but I want to be able to get not Graham and Joe's thoughts on the current
one more
topic.
thing. Podesta's about to be in a bunch of trouble. Maybe he's dumping his money into this fucking Kickstarter. Can I swear on here? Whoops, sorry.
Oh, you could say whatever the fuck you want on this show.
Okay.
Can I jump in here for a second? Actually, just in regards to that last comment, one, I want to say I love that you're wearing a robe. That's the best. Cool office. But in regards to your comment, I think it's really important what you kind of stated here in that this is going to kind of be the mainstream cultural kind of approach to the UFO question. When you really talk to people in the mainstream who aren't involved in the UFO community, their entire interpretation of UFOs is basically, it's aliens from outer space and grays and is whatever they've seen on TV, right? And then as you kind of start digging through the research and you start talking to people and you start investigating and you start dealing with witnesses, you start to realize that, the hypothesis concerning extraterrestrials doesn't always kind of hold water, especially in a lot of instances. And I think that you're right. I think Tom DeLonge and his company and all of the kind of stuff he puts out, this is going to be very much the mainstream sort of access point to the UFO question. And I'm really concerned that this is going to become kind of the next extraterrestrial hypothesis for UFOs. I'm concerned that his voice is going to kind of become so loud and so ridiculous that it's going to be covered all the time. There's going to be documentaries and shows and whatever. And suddenly it's going to be the DeLonge sort of theory of UFOs that is going to be the mainstream understanding, that it's evil aliens and reverse engineered Nazi technology and, whatever else sort of nonsense he's spewing. I'm really concerned about this because you lose the authenticity of the UFO subculture. You lose sort of the beauty of the UFO subculture as being this sort of system of anarchy of people who just believe in who the hell knows what. But it's kind of this system where we all kind of don't necessarily agree with each other, but we all, well, usually some of us most of the time get along. Most of us hate each other.
I just want to add real quick, and I won't take long. I think what we're seeing, and this has been going on throughout ufology's history and the subculture's history, is there's always been an entertainment element. And I think what we're seeing now, especially within the past couple of years, especially with like what has gone on with like MUFON's recent symposium and a lot of other conferences, is we're seeing the entertainment money interests within the field come to dominate the field at the expense of those within the community who have engaged in at least some sort of rational, scientific, skeptical, all the different methodological inquiries into the actual phenomena. We're seeing it replaced with primarily people interested in sensationalism, interested in profit, interested in media projects, and interested in stardom. And Tom DeLonge's already a star, so he has a lot of that cachet. And what we're seeing is, and I think that's why we're getting a lot of reaction from the legitimate community, is that they are kind of taking a back seat to primarily entertainment interests.
Yeah, he's going to get what he wants, but are we going to get what we want? I think that's the disconnect there.
Well, not Graham. What do you think?
Is it okay if I go by that guy? That's actually my pseudonym for my podcast.
That guy? Okay, so that guy. What do you think?
That guy from Healers and Hellraisers.
From Healers and Hellraisers.
So I think, I think the whole project, like I said, I just continue with what I said before. I do think that he has some measure of belief in this whole thing, but the people that are behind him, I hadn't thought about what Walter was talking about. These guys can't come out and say this stuff unless somebody's instructed them to. So you could, if you want to stay on the positive side, we could look at maybe Trump saying, hey, if you want to continue, you have to make your own money, tell the people and raise money. that would be the positive. That's, if that was the, a positive conspiracy for once. But more than likely, it's some kind of disinformation campaign. And it's with the people. I mean, he's attached to Podesta, for God's sakes. For all we know, this could be way twisted. Yeah, I'm very, very untrusting of the entire situation. I don't trust DeLonge. And then why in God's name, if you wanted anybody to take you seriously, would you choose Tom DeLonge as your spokesperson? I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, and sorry, Tom, and I'm sure he's a great guy, but it's Blink-182.
I think he might fall into the useful idiot category, and I'm not trying to be a smartass saying that. I think he probably falls into that, the useful idiot category.
Well, my main question, the only thing I'll add to that is how much Adderall is he on? So, if anybody watch, we'll get to that one in a moment. But Joe, what are your thoughts on this one?
First off, I know he talked about, I think it was yesterday or the day before, the videos that they're going to release are going to be on a specific website he's building right now. I want to see that stuff before I really I don't have any conclusions about him whatsoever. I'm impressed by the guys that are with him. I know Putoff. I didn't know the other guys. I know Semi Van wrote forward to, was it Secret Machines? One of his books. Semi Van wrote a forward. It's an excellent forward. He doesn't come to a conclusion, negative, positive. He's had his own experiences. Mm-hmm. The other guys, I think the other guy, Justice was the second in charge at Lockheed, I believe. Is that right?
I think he's a project development director there.
So he knows something about craft, and if they are going to build a craft, it's not. He already said it's not going to be through basic crowdfunding. He said it's going to be through companies that are going to see some of their experiments and they're going to want to jump in on it. It's obviously no way he can raise enough through regular crowdfunding. As far as the video he played on Rogan, first of all, Rogan didn't even watch his introduction video, 40-minute video. You're an interviewer and you're interviewing Tom DeLonge. You don't watch the 40-minute video. I mean, that's ridiculous. And Rogan's like, well, I didn't want to go in. I wanted to go in untainted. No, you just didn't you were lazy. You didn't do any research. So that's basically, but the video, that's a good point. The TRB video, you guys, I don't know it. It looked questionable to me. Just it looked like there was an edit there, but that's not their official release video. And I also don't think they released the Tic Tac video. I think that was Jeremy Corbell had it on his website. I don't think that's like an official release from them. But that video is meaningless unless those pilots come forward and 60 Minutes interviews them. Then people will pay attention. But that video by itself, it's not really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
defense, I never read the books either. I like to go in for like the man on the street, the Larry King style, I call it.
Same here.
Now, moving on to the financials of To the Stars Academy. Again, I'm taking a look at the financials, the disclosurerequest.com form for To the Stars Academy, and it is listing currently that total revenue for the organization is $1.3 million, with costs and expenses at $697,000, with depreciations and amortization at almost $250,000, with a net income of minus $422,000. Now, considering that this organization hasn't done anything, released anything, except for the one announcement where they had said, basically, give us money and we will build this or do this. What kind of impression does this give to you as hosts, researchers, UFO fanatics? And I'm going to start with, I'm going to change the order up a little bit just because I know that we've had some going back and forth. MJ.
Sure. The money's a weird thing here. I mean, ultimately, Tom is he's probably a wealthy man. I got to be honest. I mean, Blink-182 is still played on the radio. Every time somebody listens to it on Spotify, he earns a quarter of it, I guess. So ultimately, to him, $400,000 probably isn't like a lot of money. It's a lot of money sort of objectively, but I guess it's not to him. I mean, he's probably sort of rolling in the millions. So I understand he sort of made a loan to the Stars Academy, which is, I guess, why they're in debt by $400,000, because it was a $400,000 loan. But My bigger concern here is ultimately there's really no employees at the company. He's sort of one. There's a secretary, I think, and there's like one other guy, and everyone else who works sort of for them, these sort of intelligence guys and these government people, they're all contractors, and ultimately they're only going to work so long as they get paid, or they need to get paid before they do any work. And like it was mentioned already, none of them have really stepped up for an interview. They haven't really said anything. They've been pretty quiet. So on the financial end, I think what's dubious is I probably think, Tom could ultimately fund this himself if he ultimately wanted to, at least, generating, a few $1 million. Obviously building a spaceship is going to cost a little more, but that's probably something he can't afford. But I think we're kind of bumping into, the bigger question is not necessarily sort of how much, but why is it kind of going this money route, and why is he launching it in such a way that requires me to invest? Like this is where I'm confused, because there's other media companies that don't do this, that have significantly less financial backing than Tom DeLonge can personally provide. And maybe I'm wrong here, so I'm not a big financial guy, but that's sort of my 2 cents right off the bat.
And Joseph.
Well, I mean, it's going to sound a little crazy, but like what Walter was saying, I think that from a marketing point of view, this could be a whole test. This could be a test to see from government officials or whoever's behind the scenes to see how many people are actually going to go with this thing.
Interesting.
To determine what they're going to do for the future, because other UFO investigators are actually squeezing them a little bit. And another thing too is, why didn't he go to some of the big names in the UFO community and ask for their finances or speak to invest in it? Like the Stanton Friedmans, or obviously Grant Cameron's not going to do it because he's on a campaign to tear this whole thing down right now. But if I'm going to invest in something, if I gave him my money, it would feel like I'm a part of some type of A/B marketing split test. I'm not getting anything for it, because he's not giving us anything but just wait and see. And to me, there's no value in that.
Thank you very much. And Richard.
That's it. There's no value.
I mean, I could only say ditto to what everybody else is saying, because, we have to do this the hard way. We don't get paid to go out there and do it. And for him to get this money and to not have anything to show for it bugs me, man. It's just like, why him? And that's why I keep saying I don't understand what the agenda is. I understand what he's saying it is, but to me, it just doesn't make sense. It's not enough money. I understand he can get funding elsewhere, but what is he showing them? What is he bringing to the table? And Joe Rogan asked him that too. Why you? Why are you so special? He says, well, not right now, but I'll have to tell you later. It was always later, just like this. Later. Give me a few $100 million. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's it. So I just don't really understand. I don't know what's going to happen. Short term, I could see. But long term, I think he's just going to be another wannabe has-been, like Blink-182. Oh.
And Darren.
Well, the guy's got 60 million, so I don't know. I don't know. Something's up.
Do you think he's into the Russians for money?
Got to be a money laundering scheme. The next, either that or part 2 is going to be that you got to get 3 people under you.
And buy these knives. Look, it can cut through a can. And Joe,
still cut this lemon.
Joe, what do you think?
Well, first off, when he was asked why you, he said, because I can provide them something. They don't do anything for anybody unless you can provide them something. And he's communication. He's got a media background. I mean, if he produced that one video, the 4-minute video, it's pretty impressive, professional looking. As far as making movies, I don't know if he can direct a feature film. We'll see. And the other thing I was to say about yeah, he's worth a lot of money. I think the guy just cares about the topic and he wants to get the information out. Whether he's being used or not, I don't know. I do want to hear him being asked by. I want to see all of them take questions like Leslie Keene. I want to hear her say, okay, people have problems with the money. So can you explain the money specifically, go into detail? All those guys, I agree, they should be taking questions. So hopefully in the future they do, because right now it's definitely looks a little shady when they don't answer any questions from anybody.
And Michael.
Well, yeah, his finances are kind of they're kind of curious. I'm not too concerned about the $400,000 being shuffled around. Businesses do that. If a business doesn't work under a certain model, they'll reboot and they'll transfer their debts or whatever, and they'll try different strategies. I think so. What you're seeing here is that. I don't think it's too much of a shell game. But when it comes down to what is he raising money for, I think the goal initially was like $50 million. And, when you have $50 million, it's not going to be tech startup money, and it's certainly not going to be money to where you can, develop a warp ship to go to another galaxy. That's trillions of dollars. $50 million is pretty much movie money. It's pretty much entertainment money. And what's curious about that is, Tom is worth somewhere between 50 and 80 million dollars from what and some people are like, well, why doesn't he just fund this himself? But as a smart businessman, Tom knows that it's better to have other people fund your projects than you to have them, fund them yourselves. So, what we're seeing is we're seeing Tom try to establish a media empire, because I think deep down, ultimately, he wants to be the George Lucas or the Chris Carter of ufology, and maybe even, like the Robert Bigelow, the next Robert Bigelow, because he's certainly put feelers out that he wants to, that type of person, in the tech world to become involved with this project. So, there's a lot of vanity aspects to this, which I think has turned off a lot of people. But I don't think it's a con. I just think I do think he's sincere, but I think his motivations, are not necessarily for the field. I think they're for himself. And curious enough, Tom's not the only one that has put this out here. Stephen Greer, in the past couple of years, has done the exact same thing. And Stephen Greer and Tom were actually, sort of connected together. I think they've had a falling out since, but Stephen Greer is doing the same sort of deal. He is producing films in order to try to fund experimental technology that he thinks is going to change the world and free us from this evil cabal that, is enslaving us through energy policy, so.
Yeah, but you know what? If Tom DeLonge has all this money, why doesn't he lead by example and put 10 million in first? So that bothers me. If he has money, put that money in there and prove to us you're serious. And then
I want him to put it into UFO research.
Yeah, me too.
As opposed to entertainment. I can watch X-Files. I can watch, a George Lucas film. There's plenty of, Stranger Things is on. I can watch all the weird stuff. And I will consume what Tom produces. All of us will, because we're UFO nerds, right? So we're gonna buy his media. But
whoa! Slow down there. Nobody said anything about buying his media. We're in the internet age.
Get it for free.
Right. I steal it as much as possible, because that's punk. That's punk rock right there. Is stealing from the man. So.
And Walter.
He can reveal this.
Well, I'm just wondering how soon we're going to be doing the show where we discuss what a big dead end to the Stars Academy was, and how it diverted and derailed, UFO media for however many months or years. I see that. I see us having that conversation down the road. I really do. This gets into what you perceive the UFO phenomena to be, and personally, I've come to lean towards it's kind of a private, personal phenomenon. Now, I'm convinced that there are extraterrestrial civilizations. I think they come and go here. I think eventually they're just going to show up, kind of like at the end of Apocalypto when the guys from Europe just landed on the beaches and the natives were like, who the hell is that? I think eventually this is going to happen. The armada, the fleets are going to show up. But for some reason, for right now and for a very long time, it has been, you know, the more you look at it, a private, personal phenomenon. And so when you have these guys make these grandiose statements where, you know, disclosure, the whole thing, from my perspective, what I just explained, I'm increasingly just more cynical about that. I think ET is going to disclose themselves when they're ready to. They control disclosure. Grassroots efforts and the people, by golly, I want disclosure, you know, that ain't going to do it, folks. You can stomp your feet, you know, and cry all you want, but those who are to be disclosed, in my opinion, control disclosure. And so all this stuff is for naught. I like what Michael said, you know, Tom, put the money into UFO research. And that doesn't mean just buy every book on the planet and read it and then say, I know everything. You know, put your money into the research, go out into the field, you know, do the footwork and do real investigation and real research. And then some of us will take you more seriously.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, what about that guy?
I really hope that he does move forward and actually find something. You know, I hope that he does come up with something to show us. I don't believe that he's just trying to. I don't believe he's just trying to get the money to run off with or anything. I think he really does have intentions. But the movie thing, that's like during that Joe Rogan interview. I mean, that was the main thing, is he's going to make some movies. I think he's going to do a little bit of UFO research, and I hope that he does, and then he comes up with something. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm pretty confident he's going to make some probably B-rated type movies, and pretty much try to take Stephen Greer's spot, which is another thing. I think that's a possibility. Is they're replacing Greer as their shill, or Greer no longer is a good enough shill, and now Tom DeLonge is going to be the guy. He has a wider, the younger audience that'll follow him, because I've just got into the UFO stuff the last couple of years, and Greer is not very appealing to me. I'm a millennial, and he's just not somebody I've watched his movies, and there's no appeal there whatsoever.
Neither do us.
Yeah, I'll watch Tom DeLonge's movies just because he could say something funny, you know. And I think maybe he's just going to be the new shill, the new disseminator. And they might just, you know, maybe they're trying to reach a younger audience.
Well, thank you very much. And MJ, you wanted to add something before I asked that guy's opinion.
Yeah, just in relation to sort of something that Walter said and what that guy sort of continued on. I think it's interesting and sort of referencing the millennials. You know, ultimately UFO research has been happening, you know, over the last 70 years. And you know, we can sort of debate whether it's accomplished sort of anything of, you know, significant value. But ultimately, you know, Tom DeLonge's kind of company or this idea of To the Stars is almost like this logical progression, right? You know, UFO work started off as, you know, basic investigative work. People had sightings, investigators went into the field, spoke to the witnesses, and tried to sort of either debunk or build cases based upon witness testimony. And then ultimately, this sort of evolved over time into this disclosure project, right? And you have disclosurists like Stephen Bassett and others commonly saying, you know, the era of UFO investigation is over. That is no longer relevant, right? It's now about disclosure. The government knows what's going on, so we should petition them and you know, extract data from them because they have the truth. What's the point of talking to witnesses when, you know, the government has these files? And Tom's sort of company is almost like that sort of one step next after disclosure, where you know, investigative to disclosure to now sort of this mixing of media and investigative work, I suppose, and research and science. Like, it's almost like he's hybridizing disclosure, investigation, and media into one sort of concept. And it's going to be interesting to see sort of in a decade or in 2 decades sort of where it's going to go next, right? What is kind of the next step of the culture? What's the next step of UFO research going to look like? And is Tom DeLonge sort of providing almost like a stepping stone? Whether that stone leads to, you know, a pit where it's just endlessly falling and it all is awful, or does, you know, lead to something sort of better or greater? You know, it's sort of interesting to watch sort of the history unfold a little bit here, and maybe Tom DeLonge is just sort of following the natural progression of where UFO research is ultimately sort of heading, or needs to head, I suppose.
Thank you very much. And this actually leads into our next question. And I know for to Bram, who is asking a question in the panel, this is actually relevant to what you're asking. For the panel, you have been talking about disclosure the last little while. Obviously, there seems to be many forms of disclosure from many forms of beings, and this would not be a Den of Lore show if we didn't talk about the Sphere Being Alliance. So... And anybody who watches the show, you already know what I'm going to say. Disclosure comes in many forms, and so does splitting up demographics. It seems that when it comes to the more fringe subjects, research for marketing has shown that predominantly men, and it's usually about an 80-20 split, 80% men, 20% women, are interested in the nuts and bolts UFO. When you bring in Gaia, secret space program individuals such as Corey Goode, they seem to be going after more of a female demographic and bringing in the more spiritual, psychic side of it. Now, one thing is both people have been called shills by various different segments of the UFO community. To you, what signifies somebody who is disingenuous? What are the signs to you?
I'll start, actually. Anyone who claims to know what the source of the UFO phenomenon is a shill. Claims to know. That's a shill.
Darren from Grimerica.
I agree.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, I would. You know, I'm gonna buy a bell so I could just go ding. But as far as the 80-20 goes, I mean, I think that's. I don't think that 80-20 differs whether you go to Corey Goode or Stephen Greer or. I mean, from what the demographics I can see from my own audience, it's about 80-20. I think the whole field is 80-20.
Well, which is one of the reasons why I brought up that there is the secret space program, Gaia TV style, because they're going after the female demographic. They're going after the other 80% of women from that 20% who are not currently involved in more of the fringe subjects.
Do you think they're getting them?
I think predominantly, yes.
I don't know many women that give a shit.
Well, in when it comes to the secret space program style, yeah, they're predominantly going after the women, the female demographic. Their entire, at least to my eye, it is the female demographic. So, but that's kind of that's kind of as far as I'm willing to go in touching on that subject, because I'm trying to be all unbiased and neutral in this one. I'm just the moderator here.
I'm gonna poke at the bear.
Oh shit, man! Go back and watch Enigmas and shit. Trust me, there's enough of that of me just going off on it. To Joseph, what signifies a shill? What are the signs that you've seen from disinformation agents or people who are just in it for the money?
It's really simple, I think. When they get on shows that are when it's strictly a marketing thing, when they're at shows that are an audience for loyal people who will buy whatever the host says buy. When somebody that's intelligent and has a large audience, or somebody that is bringing something to the table wants to ask real questions, they don't even answer these kind of people. They go to 1, 2, 3 shows because they got a big audience, and you'll hear them pitch whatever they're selling about 9 to 10 times, but no one will ask them a real question because they can't answer it. And if they don't have that kind of evidence, then they're a shield to me. You know, if they won't go and sit with the underground shows, and it's all about the money, then they're a shield to me. Somebody that comes out and really cares about disclosing the truth I think his first priority would be to hit all of the underground. There's more of us, I think, than there is the rest of them. The underground truth movement, the people that really care about the truth, from a philosophical nature and from a questioning nature. You know, it doesn't always have to be about entertainment. And even the mystery schools nowadays, there's something that's very sacred to my heart, are being exploited as well, in ways that it disgusts me. The whole thing disgusts me.
And Joe,
The exploitation of secret information.
and
Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion on this. Maybe I could tell you when somebody's speaking or doing an interview and they forget to plug their books until the end of the interview because they're so focused on the material that they're researching. Usually a good sign for me. The other stuff, usually just a gut feeling. I mean, it's just me personally. I'll listen, and if I don't buy it, I don't buy it. As far as them selling something isn't always right off the bat something that turns me off. It depends on what they talk about. So it's yeah, I don't really have too much more on that.
thank you. And Richard.
Well, for me, it's when you watch their evidence, whether it be video or hear an audio or whatever, and you can debunk it or find a way to prove them wrong, and they still refuse to learn from that and continue to post it as legitimate footage and eventually put it on their website and try to make a buck on a video that isn't even real. And that's what I've noticed. The people I've met in this field, you can tell who they are. It's not that hard. You go to their website and, hey, look at this, UFO videos from 2007 to 2010. I used to be ghost hunting. I've got all these videos you could buy, and now they're in volume 1 and 2, real cheap. So it's like, my God, man, you're only here, and I'm just repeating what everybody else said, is to sell a book or make a buck. There isn't a lot of money to be made in this field. I don't know what their dreams are, what their aspirations are, but I hope it's to get the truth. And if they make money, then so be it. But I hope that somebody accidentally finds a real UFO through all that mess.
You know, you bring up a good point, Richard, with, you know, there's not a lot of money to be made in the field. And it could be said that a lot of the more legitimate researchers in the UFO field, and I'm not a UFO researcher guy myself, so I'm not putting myself in that group. They rely, a lot of them, really on what there is available to be able to continue to do the research and to write the books, the books that present the results of their investigative work, okay, the fruits of their labor. They rely on what, you know, dollars there are available out there. And when you have these big things like, you know, Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy, or, you know, this whole corporate thing, be it Gaia or, again, To the Stars, you know, as a corporate entity, you know, they come in because, God bless them, the public just loves the big show, okay? You know, that sucks up like a vacuum all the available resources, and that's another way that the more grounded, down-to-earth, smaller but serious researcher guy just gets marginalized and pushed aside, because everybody's gonna, you know, there's only so many dollars, only so much time to spend your attention, and they're gonna aim it all that way to the big show. Real quick story, I believe the Southland Corporation is the company that started or owns 7-Eleven. One of the things they were famous for, I think back in the 60s, was to go around to all the small towns and look for the mom and pop general stores. Now, I might be the only one here that's old enough to remember the general store. There were several of those when I was a kid, okay? And what the Southland Corporation did was they sent their guys out, they found where the successful mom and pop store was, and instead of buying a lot, you know, across town, right? No. They bought a lot right next door to or across the street from that privately owned mom and pop store, and they put in the bright, shiny, colorful 7-Eleven. Now, again, God bless the public. Where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to the mom and pop store? No, they're going to go to the bright, shiny thing. And 20 years later, the a-holes at Blockbuster Video did the same damn thing. And, you know, and it was they bought the lot right next door to the mom and pop video store, put them all out of business. And where's Blockbuster now? I think they're just a few machines, and everybody hated them when they went out of business. I, for one, applauded when they collapsed because their selection sucked compared to the mom. So they come in and they destroy something better. And I think that's what To the Stars and Gaia and C2C, since Nori took over, I think that's what they do. They come in and they destroy something that's infinitely better than anything they've ever been or done or put out there. And as you can tell, I'm one of those that kind of pisses me off. You just come in and put on the show, and what you've offered is crap, is weak crap. And yeah, I guess I've gone off the question here, but it's just what you said, made me think of that. And anyway,
I'd like to add to that if I could. Those are all good, valid points, and I think ultimately with DeLonge and Gaia and a lot of these corporate oriented aspects of ufology, what we're seeing is there is within the field, especially now, a professional class of ufology. And what I mean by that is those people that produce books, those people that appear on TV shows, those people that are part of the conference circuit, and a lot of this is dissemination of information, but it's also sort of a subculture within the subculture, this professional class that is maybe not making a living, but they're certainly plugged into it, and they're looking for the next gig. And I think what you're seeing is like what Walter said, is you're seeing these corporations come in, seeing that they can really capitalize on this subject, especially in our internet day and age. And I think a lot within the community are keen to be involved in this, primarily because they can become noticed, they can perpetuate their projects, they can get some money. They can become famous in a lot of respects, and I don't begrudge anybody doing that. My only concern is when the corporations come in and the primary modus operandi is making money. Bingo. Then what you're going to have is sensationalism and entertainment, and lies and dishonesty and shills and con men and people like that, and your legitimate research, which is legitimate because there are anomalies out there that need to be identified and investigated. And by investigating those, that's how we push the science forward. So, all of these are symptoms of the state of ufology, and the state of ufology largely has become this entertainment money-making venture, and it's a fine line for a lot of these researchers that do want to be noticed, that do want to get their books published, and do want to put out some quality work. It's a fine line to walk between these corporate interests and these and the search. And the big thing that gets me is UFO journalism has taken a hit. I think largely, and this is demonstrated within the DeLonge subject, I think there's really not much UFO journalism going on. Your people like George Knapp, who I respect and love, great work. People like Jeremy Corbell, Leslie Keene. A lot of these people have been brought into the DeLonge camp, where they are now spokespersons, and MUFON and a lot of these other groups, and they become advocates. When they have this access, and they become promoters, especially when they know that there's money involved and that there's projects that they will get tapped for. So I think journalism, UFO journalism, is really not in existence. It's sort of sad that with the DeLonge thing, the best UFO journalist this year, I think, has been Joe Rogan.
You bring up a good point that it must also be said that in many ways you could argue that ufology did it to itself. ufology left this gaping hole for these guys to just come in and fill up and suck it all up. So, they got to kind of hit the refresh button.
I'm going to jump in. I think there's always been sort of scam artists in the UFO world. I'm not sure if this is necessarily a new phenomenon. I mean, Billy Meyer and Adamski are two prime examples of guys who've been doing this for Adamski's in the 50s and Meyer in the 70s. I mean, they were attempting to make cash or at least earn some fame, whatever you want to call it, using sort of the gullibility of people, and maybe it's and maybe it is ufology doing it to itself in that it attracts a certain type of person that wants to believe, and that is something kind of inherent within the community itself, right? Within the subculture itself, people seeking some sort of salvation or some sort of faith in an extraterrestrial being or civilization or mystical entity or whatever reiteration of sort of the phenomenon that we have. So maybe the corporate takeover of ufology is just simply an extension of like the Billy Meyer, George Adamski phenomenon, right? It just works a lot more efficiently now. You don't need some crazy Swedish guy. You can just have Tom DeLonge do it for you, right? And then he can these guys have been doing it for a long time. There wasn't crowdfunding in the 50s, but I'm sure they would have used it if they could.
Well, you're absolutely right. Everything you're saying. I think the issue we have here is we've never seen it this big. I don't think, unless
I agree.
I don't think we've seen a corporate entity coming in to do.
Like, there's a zero chance Adamski raised $2 million. Zero, right?
But why Tom DeLonge?
You could choose to just ignore him if you wanted to. There was plenty of room and space for the other voices. My beef and others I know is that To the Stars and Tom DeLonge are going to come in and suck up all the air. Look at it. We're spending 2 hours talking about Tom DeLonge.
Well, guys, before, and exactly, I know, but at the same time, it is very good. It's very good radio, and there hasn't been a roundtable this well balanced in a very long time. And I wanted to make sure that it could happen with a very wide range of voices. And one of those voices is that guy, to be able to end off this subject. And then that guy, I'm going to start with that guy for the next subject. I just love it. Like, that guy, you're awesome.
You like that, huh? What was the question again exactly? I got kind of off there.
Shills. What have you seen? What to you screams, this is a scam?
Oh, right. You know what? See, that's the thing about scammers is they're like an undercover agent, right? So I think it's kind of hard to peg down a specific type of person, and say a person that acts like this is a shill. I know a lot of police officers and stuff. And the undercover agents, when those guys are going undercover, they look like everybody else. They have beards. They look like bikers. And that's the same. The government's the one that trains them. Those are the same people that train and pick shills. I don't think most shills even realize they're a shill in this type of thing. So I don't know. I don't have a specific, there's not a specific type of person or a specific behavior. There's the really obvious ones that aren't very good shills that are trying to, snake oil salesmen trying to get your money. They're pretty obvious. But this Tom DeLonge thing is not that. If he's a shill, he's either extremely deep, but I think one of these Podesta or somebody approached him because they needed to further this thing. Yeah, they're using him. And think about it. That was part of Hillary's campaign, was to do the UFO thing, to release everything. That's why he was in touch with Podesta, because they were going to use him. Hillary was going to use him for her campaign. I guarantee it. And that's where, because he came out in the Podesta emails, right? He was mentioned in the Podesta emails. And that's when this thing all kind of blew up. So they were already planning on using him. And it seems like it just kind of got turned, and now Trump's decided to use him for something else, or it just snowballed, and all these federal agents were already involved with this guy. And now they just decided, well, hell, we're already here. Let's just keep it going. Maybe we can make some money too. They're all part of the company. They're owners in the company, right? They're stockholders. So it benefits them. So I don't know. I don't know that Tom knows he's a shill. I think he is. I think he's being fooled, but I think everybody around him knows he is.
Now, speaking of everyone around him, now he has many people on his team. This next question is not so much regarding his team, but regarding the team's specialty with regards to with what they're trying to develop. We have already talked about the media and the movies that we're probably all going to download. I think we've agreed on that. There is also going to be exotic technology such as propulsion that supposedly is going to be developed, in addition to research into paranormal phenomena such as psychic abilities. I think there was an app that's going to be developed as well. To any of the technologies that are going to be supposedly developed, what do you think is the likelihood, and what do you think they are going to come out with, if they're going to come out with anything, and your reasoning behind it?
I don't know that the one that really interested me the most was that piece of metal. I understand a little bit that he was talking about it organizing,
Hello? Did I lose everybody? I think I may have lost everybody. Well, I do apologize, ladies and gents. This is what happens.
Yes.
Oh, we are still here. Okay, thank goodness. I'm not sure if that was my internet or if that was you guys, but looks like it was my connection went down for a second. The deep state is onto us.
It pinged for a little bit.
That was NSA got us.
Oh.
It was Bill the Shill.
So I do apologize before we got so rudely interrupted there. That guy.
So that little metal thing that he was talking about, that technology really is like, that sounds incredibly interesting. I didn't quite understand what I'm obviously not an engineer. I didn't quite understand how that would work, or even the stuff that he was speaking of. But if that would be the one that I would hope would come out, because that's kind of the propulsion technology and all that stuff.
I think he's referring to Art's parts. I think that is
metal, yeah.
No, this was from the 1950s.
Well, that's what he says, but I think the actual piece of metal that he's referring to was already, talked about and examined and looked at on the Art Bell show back when,
he said it in Joe Rogan's show. It was from that, yeah. So.
Right. So again, he's presenting old information as new. And as secret, but this has already been examined. It's already been deemed terrestrial. I don't know how he gets the notion that he can figure out it's from another galaxy. That sounds kind of ridiculous if you know anything about physics. It's that's Art's parts. But he's also making claims of I don't know, extraterrestrial bodies and things like that, So
how original.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have a lot of hope that anything is actually going to come out of this. I don't believe. I just don't think that I think there's going to be some really bad movies, and maybe a couple of really weird songs with weird lyrics. That's about it. I mean, I really don't think this is going to come to any kind of major fruition. I don't think we're going to see. I think it's going to be another Richard Gere thing, and he's going to have people out in the woods doing funny stuff.
Even
manifesting little balls that glow. I think that's pretty much as far as it's going to get.
He's going to get what he wants. We're not going to get what we want.
Right.
And Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I really can't see how you can come to that conclusion. It's so early.
Because we've been here before.
You have not been here exactly where you are right now. We have not had these guys come out. Wait, let me finish. Wait.
Thank you.
There's three. I agree with you on the three researchers. Leslie Kean, George Knapp, not George Knapp, but Leslie Kean. Her article in Huffington Post was definitely not a normal investigative reporter piece. It was a little more advocate. So I agree with you there, but I think these guys have seen some of the videos that are coming out that are not they're not classified anymore, and so you have to give them the benefit of the doubt right there. I know as a reporter they should try to hold back a little bit, but I think they've seen stuff. But you guys, it's early. Let's see at least let them release the videos. I don't get the negativity. We haven't gone anywhere yet. No, the team has come out 2 weeks ago, and they're going to release videos in a couple of weeks. He said. I don't understand. Well, I think it's just going to go down the tubes, and he's going to take people out in the woods, and it's going to be over, and it's a waste of time. And I don't get that.
Well, it's years and decades of very similar things happening. Guys coming out saying, "Oh, we're going to do all this, we're going to reveal all that disclosure," and it never happens. Most of the time, it turns out to be BS. So come on, I mean, if you've been following UFOs for the last 30 years, you know why people are negative about this.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant what happened in the past. It doesn't affect what he's going to be doing. Doesn't affect what he's going to be doing. No, these are different people.
Okay.
When was the last time a former Lockheed guy came out and these guys came out and had a conference like that? When did that happen? Never.
A year ago.
Greer had his military
Citizen for
guys, but
disclosure.
it's not the same thing as this.
Citizen
Maybe
for
you're
disclosure.
Right. That's right. Maybe it'll fall apart. It's just, for me, it's just so early to be saying anything like that. I don't get that.
Again, gentlemen, I would like to be able to remind you to please try not to talk over one another. Again, I'm going to try and make sure everyone gets their point heard, and I can understand we're very passionate about this. I want to make sure that we can stay fair, balanced, and that we can be the upstanding men that I know you all are, and we'll make sure everyone gets a turn. So thank you very much for your fantastic input so far. And now that we've got Joe, Walter, I'll give you the next response, and then I'll go back to Darren.
Refresh my memory on the question again. I'm the old guy.
Are
we still on the shill thing?
No, we're on the technology thing that they're saying they're going to be releasing.
Because we've seen the promises before. The whole thing, when you look at it, you find out that this is what they'd like to do. Please give us money. We'll build this. And this time we've got this former guy from this intel agency and that guy from Skunk Works, and and it's still just, it's hollow. And like I said a minute ago, the last decades, this is why I'm cynical and why a lot of people are cynical. And it really should come as no surprise. And I would love to be proven wrong. If they come out and build their thing that's this time-skipping interstellar ship, that would be fantastic. I'm all for that. But I don't see these guys doing it. And certainly not within the context of what's been presented to us. Yeah, I'm cynical because once again, it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. They've just put a different cover on it, a different mask. They've polished it up here and there, thrown a couple of different spices in that weren't there before, but it's still the same kind of thing, we've seen, that we've been talking about, all night. So, I'm cynical about this for good reason.
Okay, and Darren.
What was the question?
The technology that they're claiming to be developing or going to be developing, such as exotic technologies for propulsion, in addition to, I think that they're going to be developing an app which is supposed to be some type of psychic app or research into psychic abilities.
Didn't Greer already do that?
Well, no, Greer did the app that you can use to contact space aliens,
right?
Who are coming from another dimension.
Yeah, I don't know. What the fuck is Tom DeLonge and these guys going to do with $50 million that they couldn't do at Lockheed in the last 50 years with like a couple trillion? So I'm a little skeptical about that. And I don't know. I think what's the name? What's the dude's name from Skunk Works again?
Steve Justice.
Is that him? What about who's the other guy that's in there?
Hal Puthoff is from Stanford.
That's right. He's the guy who said he could take ET home, like way back in the day.
That's Ben Rich.
Yeah, that's Ben Rich. Well, and that quote is sort of a misquote too. That actually comes from Jan Harzen. So, even that notion that. Look, this sort of comes back to, the big elephant question that nobody is asking. If these intelligence guys have crash flying saucers and aliens, and they already have this technology and they've been flying around with it, then what is this whole project about? Are they leaking information that already exists, through a sort of, like a Colonel Corso sort of thing, where they're trying to, put this technology out there through this mechanism, or is Roswell a bunch of bullshit? is a conspiracy that, an alien crash conspiracy that has sort of dominated ufology in the past 30 years. Is that all a bunch of crap? So it's sort of there's a cognitive dissonance and a sort of a schizophrenic aspect to ufology right now with regards to this, because you have your conspiracy theory people embracing the intelligence community, hoping that they're going to get something that is tangible in the form of a flying saucer, but they're not going to get any sort of disclosure like they would want. They're going to get little bits of disclosure, which is questionable considering the background of all the people that were at that press conference. All of those people are connected to the CIA in one form or another. Skunk Works, Stanford Research Institute, Elizondo, Summivan, all these guys are intelligence operatives. And, and they haven't really been a part of the UFO community. Hal Puthoff has been part of the UFO community, but he's also been a part of, traditionally a lot of these strange projects that have come out of Stanford, some of these projects related to like MK Ultra, so it's there, there's the conspiracy aspect, within ufology that is trying to comprehend what the hell is going on with all this. Can these guys be trusted? Are we getting disclosure? Are we getting confirmation? Is it a slow drip? Are we going to see things that are disinformation? But ultimately, are we going to get some technology? Is anti-gravitic technology a viable sort of thing? Sure it is. And it's worthy of investigation. It's worthy of study. I don't think this organization under its current organization really has the capacity to do that. They certainly have some people that they can tap that have credentials, but I don't know. I'm curious as to how this washes with whether or not the government knows what's going on.
Well, if you look
Michael, you bring up a good point. Just real quick, brief. All these years, people have distrusted anything and anyone to do with CIA where ufology and this field is concerned. Now, all of a sudden, all these CIA guys are okay with a bunch of people who want to embrace Tom DeLonge. He's got this CIA guy and that CIA guy. Whereas up till now, CIA was, oh my God, they're disinfo guys. They're evil men in black. So, I think that's a little bit of true believerism. They want to have faith so much that now they're willing to accept the CIA guys.
Especially when you look at the CIA and Laurel Canyon and the roots of the whole music movement of the 60s, who's to say that didn't continue into the 90s with DeLonge and Blink 182 and all these other shitty alternative bands. I mean, what else could they be with CIA? I
was going to say, what concerns me. What concerns me, and I'm sorry to interrupt, this is the point I don't want to miss here. What concerns me, intelligence-wise, is what Chris has mentioned as far as producing some sort of app, which you can get on your phone that pretty much makes you, a government spy, or you can, send your sighting report directly to these intelligence operatives, and you become sort of a mini government camera for these strange things flying around. That's sort of weird. That's sort of creepy. I think that technology is a good sort of thing, but it's not coming from the UFO community. It's coming from these intelligence guys.
Okay.
Well, if I believe the WikiLeaks when they're talking about the other stuff, then we have to assume that they're being truthful when the CIA says that all our phones are fucking spying on us anyway.
And I'm going to go Richard, Joseph, and then MJ for the end of this questioning. So if you want to be able to follow off on that, Richard, and then give your point.
Well, I mean, I understand how, earlier the one guy is like, well, how do you know? Maybe he will be the guy who's going to come out and have disclosure for us. Well, in the last 20 years that I've been following ufology closely and 14 years of investigating down on the ground, it's just something that I've heard time and time again. Every year, it's just something new and promises of disclosure. So I understand, Walter, why he said what he said, because it's the same thing wrapped in a different box. I mean, it's all the same stuff we've been hearing all these years. So yeah, we're going to be a little skeptical, cynical, and all that other stuff. It's just we're tired of it. We're tired of it. I mean, we're at our wits' end trying to get real evidence out there, and then this comes along, and this is just going to water down ufology again. And maybe that is what's the CIA wants to do. Who knows? Maybe we're getting close. Maybe we are seeing things that we don't realize are true alien being crafts or alien beings in crafts. Who knows? I think the people like myself who go out there and have the real stuff and they put it up on YouTube, we are the eyes and ears for the government. We are doing their work. So to say that we need him to do that, no, we don't need Tom DeLonge, as I like to call him, Tom DeShlong. But I'm sorry, I don't like the guy that much. I've just seen this guy many times before, and it's over and over again, and promises aren't going to be kept. And then, next year we're going to say, when we do this roundtable again, how horrible this all was and how we were all right and how we called the shots and said, yeah, this is what's going to happen. And he's going to go broke and no, die of heroin. I'm just kidding. But I just feel it's the same thing in a different president. That's all.
And to Joseph.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with Rich, but the whole thing about being pessimist and not positive and it's too early and stuff like that. I'm from the South, and I can tell you one thing. We don't learn enough from our past. We have to take our past experiences as our truth. It's the only thing that we know as our truth. So that's why we base this stuff that way. And secondly, everything that we're talking about, the propulsion system, Bob Lazar has already talked about all of this stuff. The metal, right, that you're talking about. Larry Seekander's going around to every single UFO conference there is and showing a piece of metal that not one metallurgist can explain, not one of them. Nobody's talking about that. As far as the consciousness studies go, you don't need an app. When it comes to astral travel, remote viewing, there's tons of books and tons of material on it. And yes, it's real. So the only difference in this whole thing is the government dude standing behind Tom DeLonge. It's the variable in this whole equation. And you're asking me to trust them now when like Walter said, when I've never trusted what they've said before, because you can't, because disinfo is their power. You can't trust them. So to me, this whole thing is just the ShamWow commercial of ufology is what it is.
Now, the next question is that who's going to be the one who is caught in the bushes trying to hire a transvestite hooker? Because I think that happened to Vince, who actually sold ShamWows. And segueing into the next one.
I'm not answering that question.
MJ, you can go ahead and take that hot potato.
Darren wants to, I think.
MJ, go ahead regarding technology and psychic apps.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not really my strong suit here when it comes to sort of knowledge in regards to the UFO question. It's a fundamental sort of leap in logic here to assume that this group of people is going to build like a starship that can travel through space and time. Like it doesn't. It sounds a little ridiculous, right? It just sounds wrong, and I don't want. I'm not the guy who is going to say, we should go with common sense or consensus reality or whatever. Like, I mean, I just don't know. Like, I'm gonna pass. Can I pass? I'm gonna pass. I'm passing.
And that's. I just want to be able to make one comment to. I believe it was Daryl in chat. Daryl is like, Tom is a Mason too. Nobody's mentioning that. Masons are sneaky dudes. So
they're
guys,
evil.
Apparently I'm a sneaky dude. Just putting that out there. So yeah, I'll let you guys in for the next secret. Tomorrow's Saturday. It's the first Saturday of the month. It's our virgin sacrifice / pancake breakfast day. So if you guys want in on that, we'll help you take over the world. And then we'll eat some pancakes. Okay, so you're passing on this one, I can understand. So, gents, we're about like 15 minutes in. Darren had to step out the back door They've got a very bad snowstorm going through his town out in Alberta. So I'm hoping that you stay safe, buddy. And again, thank you very much for helping us out and joining the panel. Coming to the last segment of the show, I'm going to put it to the floor for 2 rounds, and I'm going to get your just general opinion on Tom DeLonge, UFOs, and anything else that we have not mentioned yet. And I just want you to be able to go nuts, and I'll give you as much time as you want. So, MJ, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. So right now, we've kind of danced around this issue, and I want to touch on it. Tom DeLonge's sort of purpose here, I suppose, is a continued push of the extraterrestrial hypothesis in the UFO question. So he totally disregards all other, potential hypotheses and theories in regards to the source of UFOs. And in my personal investigative work with MUFON, as well as just sort of reading and research, the extraterrestrial hypothesis doesn't necessarily answer or doesn't necessarily provide sort of the full picture of what the UFO phenomenon is. So I want to kind of go to the panel here a little bit, and I want to maybe ask, what is your opinion in regards to extraterrestrial hypothesis, in regards to other hypotheses for the UFO phenomenon? And is Tom DeLonge just kind of pushing, the same old mainstream kind of ufological nonsense? Discuss.
Okay, I'll go first. As far my stance on UFOs, they seem to be kind of multifaceted. I think that what we see, like the CSETI camps and stuff that they do, I'm Christian, but I'm kind of an out there Christian. Most other Christians don't agree with my beliefs, but some of the churches even that I've been to, we've actually caused stuff to manifest. You see things, the spots, the flashes, all that kind of stuff. We've actually seen that in church. As I know of other organizations that do that, other types of groups. So the CSETI stuff, the flash bulbs, I'm pretty sure that's some kind of manifestation that our minds actually cause. I'm not exactly sure how that works. And that seems to be the main thing they see is flash bulbs. They have to get rid of all fear, which fear kind of mutes your ability to manifest things. So there's no fear allowed. They figured that out. And I think that Stephen Giordano knows what he's doing. I don't think that he believes he's actually calling down UFOs when he's doing that. I think he understands that he's actually affecting something in the spiritual realm. But I also believe, because you see, there's too many.
Sorry, whose camera is that coming from?
Looks like Joe Emergia.
Joe, is that yours?
What are you looking? What are you seeing?
I'm hearing somebody making looks like a martini in the backend, or hearing a martini being made in the background.
No, I'm on a couch. There's no martini here.
Okay.
Dragging a body sounds like.
Give me a second here.
I'll mute. Tell me if it goes away if I mute.
Yeah, it went away already.
No, they already muted. It wasn't you.
Okay.
All right.
So I also think I do believe in life on other planets. I don't think. And so I think there's a little bit of that, and I also believe part of it is a secret space program type of stuff or secret aircraft. I definitely know that the government has aircraft and stuff that we don't know about, like the Aurora. We know a little bit about Aurora. We know it exists, but we don't know anything about it. I know that it leaves a crazy, huge, weird trails behind it, little circles like donuts instead of a normal chemtrail or contrail or whatever you want to call it. But I also do, like I said, I do believe that people have visited here from other places. So I think it's a mix of all three that we see. I don't think that I have a hard time with the flash bulbs and stuff. I don't think that has anything to do with UFOs. I think a lot of the stuff that we see in the sky is actually government. But I also believe that there has been visitors here from other places as well. So I think we've got a mishmash of all that stuff going on, and people put it together in one ball, and it makes it really confusing. But it's also incredibly convenient, that, wow, look at this is attached to this. I think there's a lot of confirmation bias in the UFO world, just like there is in all the religious, stuff and everywhere else. But I do believe there's definitely life on other planets that have visited here. I just don't think that everything we attribute to them belongs to them, I guess.
And Richard, I'll throw it to you.
You're asking me, what's that?
Go ahead, Rich.
No, I mean, you're just basically asking us about DeLonge, right? What our feelings are and what our beliefs are in that, right? Was that the question?
MJ, but was it more of a general question towards UFOs and aliens and thoughts towards DeLonge, or what was? Yeah.
The question is in regards to, DeLonge is just kind of pushing the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and a lot of investigators and a lot of work and research would kind of say, there might be something more than the extraterrestrial hypothesis kind of happening. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are in regards to, is this kind of just the same old ET shtick, or, is something else going on with the UFO phenomenon that isn't necessarily sort of aliens from other planets in nuts and bolts spacecraft, for example?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before when I said it might be a front for something else, because it just seems illogical to ask for the money they're asking for. I've never seen anybody ask for a minimum of $200. If you had $50, they wouldn't take it. So it's something really strange about this. Maybe they only want people with a lot of money to invest. But I don't think there is going to be disclosure, not in our time. So if they're trying to bring that to the forefront, that ain't going to happen. We know that. We know that whatever secret government's out there won't let it happen. And maybe there is. Maybe they're tapping into the spiritual realm. Maybe that, because that's what's hot right now. That's why Gaia is so popular. And maybe they're trying to tap into that. Maybe there's something we're not seeing. Maybe there is alien technology, or maybe they have an alien captured, and maybe they're getting ideas from this alien. I don't know, man. I mean, you have to think crazy like that to be in this field. Like, I don't see why DeLonge is here. I don't see any rewards that should be given to him. I don't really appreciate that he was named the UFO Researcher of the Year. I should have been. So, it makes me upset that way, but who knows me? So he's the guy right now. So we have to deal with the cards we're dealt with, and I'm not real happy with it. I feel like we got the Joker, and I feel like everybody else is the other Joker that comes in the deck. And we're just going to have to just do what we do here, and that's talk about it, make sure it stays straight and narrow, and then keep everything on a level head. It's a tough world, this ufology. It really is. Too many fakers.
All right, and let's see, and Joseph.
Oh, well, I think that like I was saying before, that all of this stuff it's already out there. You look at I know it's old, but the Travis Walton case, if you want to look at evidence, that's probably the most evidence anybody's ever seen. And he did a movie and a book and everything, and he did lie detector tests. His crew went through several lie detector tests. They did blood tests. They did everything they were asked to do when the community asked them for proof. And yet they're not even mentioned, but this rock star guy is supposed to be the one that's supposed to do, supposed to be deliver the disclosure. Oh, it's in my book, Secret Machines. Now, my message is that we can get rid of these threats, because that's what these ETs are. They're threats. With these CIA guys standing behind me, but I can't talk about this only in fiction, right? Meanwhile, the facts are being released everywhere. Is ufology, do I think it's real? Yeah, I think if people give money to DeLonge and these government officials and these corporate heads, then we're doing a disservice to the field. I actually believe that.
And I'm going to put it to Joe.
Yeah, I don't think DeLonge is labeled every ET or whatever they are a threat. I know he talks about the bug, which I'm assuming are the Greys. And as far as his details, if you go back to the Knapp interview before they had the crowdfunding, he talked a lot of details on the Knapp interview and Jimmy Church interview. I went back and listened. He talks a lot of stuff back then, but once they did the crowdfunding, then he started saying, "Well, I speak for other people, so I don't really want to go into that." Let me be clear about the claim. I said just patience. I'm not talking about the Starship. The Starship, I agree. I don't expect the Starship to be built in 5 to 10 years like they're talking about. I'm just specifically talking about releasing enough information that gets the interest of the masses. That's basically would make me happy. If they release videos and they bring out witnesses and they come on 60 Minutes and millions, tens of millions of people start taking this seriously, for me, that's a success. The other stuff, I don't know. As far as telepathy, ESP research, I really don't know what they can do there. Are they going to be able to boost people's ESP abilities? Other than that, I don't know anything new because there's been so much research there that shows there's something going on there. So I don't know.
And Walter.
Well, my views have been expressed in bits and pieces, already. I'm probably mostly in line with what Garrett said. I'm kind of the same mind. It's a multifaceted phenomenon, and it has an extraterrestrial element. It definitely has a classified space program technology element that, there's also definitely a spiritual element. I think there's, some entity or some intelligence out there that kind of uses the ET mask, so to speak, to manifest itself or express itself to us. But this is just, one of the many facets of it. As far as Tom DeLonge and that is concerned, I get what Joe's saying. My main point is that there are people out there that are a little bit skeptical and cynical in that, hey, I figured all this out. I've got the answers. I'm all about revealing it to you, but allow me to reveal it to you piecemeal as you go by each one of my books and buy everything and give us the investment. Yeah. Most of us researchers, when we get onto something, we do the research and then we put what we find in a book, or go out there and talk about it. We don't find, like 20 years worth of secrets and then with calculation, release it piecemeal and expect people to, pay us for every increment along the way. I guess what I'm trying to say is if he really cares about, the truth and getting it out there, why not just come out and, release one big fat tidbit? Why does he always have to say, well, that's in the book, I don't want to talk about it in this interview that I've been asked to come on and talk about it? And that's where people, like myself and others have problem with, what he's doing is it seems cynical on his part, I'm with you guys. There's ET out there. There's all sorts of these other things. I'm not a naysayer or skeptic on all of it, but I am skeptical on, the DeLonge thing until he proves otherwise.
Maybe that slow release is part of the plan to do something different, than what's going on right now. Maybe they think a sustained effort of like several years of releasing stuff slowly, maybe that'll work, since so far nothing else has worked to get the interest in, which really frustrates me because there's so much good information out there from you guys, other researchers, that this would already be a common place. This would be something talked about in every home, and it's not. So I don't know. Maybe this will work.
You bring up a good point. That's very possible. But I will say this: a piecemeal release to me would be evidence that we are talking about, that he is being used for the government to do disclosure. I could see that. That's a good point. But to me, that would confirm the suspicion that, okay, maybe the government is using him as the conduit. So that's possible. And you're right. We just got to see what he says and see what he releases as he goes. He might have something that'll make all of us naysayers feel like idiots, but we'll be glad. I mean, if he's really got something, I'm going to love it. That'd be totally cool.
Walter, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you said you were FBI?
I was FBI. I'm an Air Force officer. I was an OSI agent.
What is OSI?
The Office of Special Investigations, Air Force OSI.
So you were an interrogator at times.
I've used interrogative techniques. Yeah,
What do you think about Tom DeLonge's body language and speech when he's being interviewed?
He seems squirrely to me. He seems like a guy who's now, when I say squirrely, I don't mean that he's necessarily lying. Squirrely could be that he's been instructed or handled to say certain things, but not other things that he knows. That can cause squirreliness. So squirrely here could be could serve his bona fides positively, okay, as easily as it could be negatively. The negative side would be that he's making this crap up, and he's getting squirrely about it because he doesn't want to get tripped up in nonsense. But it could go the other way. It could be a sign that that he really is being told stuff that has convinced him and might be real. So that I know that seems ambiguous, but that's my assessment of what I've seen, and that would lead to, if I were the one to interview him, or do the subject interview instead of interrogation, we call that. That would help me formulate what questions and the line of questioning I would go to try to dig in, and to find the answer to why he's squirrely. But yeah, that's what I see.
And Michael, is Michael still there? Michael is there.
I'm here. Back to, it looks like MJ stepped away, but I'll go ahead and answer his question, and he knows my answer. A lot of this is pretty much just a sideshow. It's part of UFO history. People will talk about these events, decades from now, and however it will come out, it will come out that way. I think ultimately it's a negative for ufology. It's a negative for the subject. I'm interested in UFO entertainment. I enjoy it. And I would certainly love to see a flying saucer be built, and I would ride on that flying saucer if I had a chance. But as a UFO researcher, I am interested in the phenomena. I am interested in anomalies. And people are familiar with my position. I think a lot of times with regards to, the ETH theory, or even, the co-creation theory or whatever, I think ufology has struggled with trying to find a unifying field theory that answers all of the UFO questions that have occurred. And I don't think that will happen. I think as researchers, we need to look at each case individually on their own merits. And I think what we're dealing with is a variety of phenomena. Some of them natural, some of them secret government programs. I don't believe in a secret space force or blue avian space fleets or anything like that. But we certainly have exotic technology, maybe not anti-gravitic, but we certainly have some kind of stealth balloon or stealth blimp, and we certainly have Aurora type space planes. But I think what we need to get back to is not, involve ourselves so much in these conspiracies, which we can never trust the answer to. We need to engage the phenomena itself. And I say phenomena, not phenomenon. And the way to do that is to investigate each of these cases, and to set up projects, and to set up studies, and to engage what we're talking about. Tom DeLonge talking to somebody in secret is not going to reveal the truths, in my opinion. A TV show or a Netflix cartoon related to UFOs is not going to reveal the truth here. What is going to be revealed, one way or another, whether it's a real sort of thing, an imagined thing, interdimensional beings, aliens, or whatever, is we need to engage the subject. And the way to do that is to do field study. And I'm not finding any of that whatsoever with Tom DeLonge. Hopefully there are some elements in there that can push some of that. But my guess is that most of the money for his project is going to go towards his vanity entertainment projects. And I think that does hurt the field. I think we're not doing the science here because building a flying saucer is not ufology. Sorry. And ultimately, I think it will be a negative. But, as ufology continues to go down the tubes, I guess we'll be thoroughly entertained along the way.
I think if he can make a flying saucer that can actually leave the ground, and Elon Musk finds out about that, something that can actually leave the atmosphere, he's going to whack him. I'm just saying, I'm the first one to say it. If he does,
it's millionaires picking wars with billionaires. It's a completely different world.
You don't want to piss off a billionaire.
No, especially not like Elon Musk. He'll just work him to death.
Right, Hillary's not even a billionaire, and she whacks people all the time.
But not, definitely not whacking Bill. That's for sure. The last question. This is the last one for the show, and again, you guys can take your time. For the ET question or the UFO question, do you believe that it is man-made, extraterrestrial, or extra-dimensional? If it exists. And I'm going to start.
I'm gonna answer real quick because my answer is yes, sure, why not? Maybe all those. So I'll let somebody else answer that one.
I would answer, but I can't say.
I'd say all the above: time travel, interdimensional, everything. I have no idea. I don't even know if maybe we're still alone. Who knows? I don't know. As far as other planets, I don't know. But I would say yes to the possibility. Yes to everything.
Yeah, I'm with them as well. I'll say yes to everything. It's possible. I don't know, and I can't stand it when people say this is the truth. Well, you don't know what the truth actually is. But I kind of think I think that the ETs that we see, they, even if they're government, they seem to be interdimensional the way they can disappear. Because unless they have some kind of really cool cloaking device, but I like to hope that they're interdimensional. That Stranger Things style, they just switch over and drive down the street and switch back over. That would be really cool. That would be my goal, is to have that be the truth. So we'll see if I can manifest that. So
thank you very much, that guy, Walter.
Hey, count me in with the it's many things. I sincerely am convinced of that. So you name it.
And to Joseph.
Yeah, I want to believe in all three. I would say though, the interdimensional thing, I've had my own experience with that. I won't go into that, but I would look at the work of Dr. Richard Allen Miller on that.
And speaking of Richard.
Hey, yeah, well, I agree with what everybody said, except I have a problem with maybe they're psychic beings, things like that. It's possible because I've had strange experiences. That's why I'm in this field, to share what I found and prove other people right or wrong. Well, I just talked to Joe the other night, Joe from Lighting the Void. I think aliens and ghosts are basically the same. Maybe they are interdimensional beings. Maybe we are the eyes of the all-seeing God or whatever being created us. The whole planet feeds this information. So we could be living in some sort of matrix reality. We don't know. Like we've been saying, we don't know. But it would be nice to imagine if that was it. And we know that that's a possibility. Is just mind-blowing. But I don't know, man. I don't think disclosure is going to happen. So it's just very, very strange times we live in. We've got the internet. We hear all these stories across all over the world. And it's possible they're interdimensional. It's possible they're ghosts, spirits.
Well, guys,
it's possible that everything is possible.
Give me a second here. Apparently we're offline.
Hey!
That
was my fault.
Let me refresh here.
What happens when you mumble? The government took us off. I can't believe it.
Oh no, we're back on. We're back online.
So as I was saying, I do think that we are all of the above. I think ghosts are spirits. I think that's why we can hear them in EVPs, because they know we're talking to them and they're sitting on that other dimension right next to us. And they're like, watch me make this guy freak out. And they go, you're going to die. Oh my God. So I don't know. They could be playing with us, man. We don't know. If they were human beings at one point and now they're back to their weird selves, they could have fun with us that way. We don't know. From the dream world to reality to being asleep and paralyzed. What do they call that? Sleep paralysis? Man, people see aliens in that. I have dreams of aliens. I know other people who do. Why? I didn't think of aliens when I was 7 years old. I was thinking of, Legos and baseball. So it's a very strange time we live in now. We have all of our minds talking about it. That's our own disclosure, but real disclosure won't happen. But I think the aliens are here. They always have been. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Have you guys ever heard of the theory? Like of course you probably have the demonic theory that all that stuff is just strictly demons or whatever.
Yes, and I ridicule those people on a constant basis. No
a
offense.
million times.
It's like if you start mixing ufology with demonology and deep state with Illuminati, conspiracy theories, I start questioning your somebody's sanity. Not to say that I'm questioning yours, with all due respect.
It goes back to your original question that we should probably elaborate a little bit on. When we say yes to those different possible theories for unknowns, interdimensional, co-creation, ETH, we're not implying that every theory is equal or every account is equal or every person making a claim is equal to one another, because some of these ideas are mutually exclusive of others. And some of these contactees and some of these proponents and experiencers, their experience counteracts or, is different than claims that other people are making. What Corey Good is claiming can't be true. And, what somebody else is claiming cannot also be true. They're sort of mutually exclusive in their interpretation. So there is bullshit out there. There are liars out there. There are people making stuff up. There are people that are full of crap. Not everything that somebody says within the UFO world needs to be respected because some of it is outright bullshit. And you can use logic and you can analyze their arguments and you can analyze their evidence and you can analyze their backgrounds and their motives in order to try to determine, which of the hypotheses, which of the stories, which of the characters, personalities, or whatever are better, than others. So, I think all of us would probably agree that, when we say all of the above, we say that as being possibilities to the unknown aspect of these phenomena that people are experiencing.
And thank you very much. And MJ.
Yeah, my entire sort of ufological philosophy hinges upon the idea that if somebody says they 100% know what's going on, they're either delusional or trying to sell you something. And I think that sort of as sort of ufologists going into the future, as sort of this panel has commented, with potential sort of corporate engagement in media and all that, we have to be much more critical, I think, of sort of the ufological world around us. I agree with Michael that we can't necessarily buy every single theory and we can't necessarily respect every single theory because, like you said, a lot of them cancel out. There's a lot of stuff even within sort of within the popular UFO narrative that doesn't make sense. We often refer to the pilots of these UFOs and the alien species or whatever they are as being sort of hyper intelligent, incredibly more advanced than us, yet they still crash into a Mexico or a New Mexico desert or whatever, right? So, these issues counter sort of act. How can a hyper advanced species that's interdimensional and has incredible intelligence, so much beyond humanity, still, slam their flying saucer into a desert? It doesn't sort of make logical sense. So I agree. I think we just kind of need to be careful. In regards to my personal philosophy, I sort of agree with the panel. I don't know what's going on. I have zero clue, and I'm not sure if I'll ever know. So all I can say is I just want to believe.
That's very good. And again, for anybody who's watching, we will be continuing the discussion in the Discord server. The link is in the show notes. Yes, we're trying to push the Discord server and make it a thing, because why the hell not? Be able to keep everyone connected in this world under the banner of finding out some information, or at least learning some cool shit. I'm going to give a round to everyone to be able to plug their shit, because you guys have given me your time, and I want to make sure that I can repay in kind by being able to provide you with some, promotion and a chance to give your pitch for your stuff. So I'm going to start with, MJ already on the screen. Go for it.
Sure. Yeah. So I contribute to Mysterious Universe. I'm also a blogger. You can find my blog at www.terraobscura.net, and predominantly it's sort of culture and theory in regards to UFOs, not necessarily sort of trying to figure out what UFOs are. So if you're into sort of philosophy and culture, come check it out. Thank you.
And Richard.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate you having me on here. Hey, I have the Paranormal Code, and that is a paranormal show. It's on Lighting the Void. I can't believe I just said that. It's on the Fringe FM, where you can find Lighting the Void and Joe Rupe and his show. I'm on Sunday nights, 7 p.m., and Thursday nights at 7 p.m., starting next Thursday, finally, our first show during the week. And I have a YouTube channel you can go to. It's the Paranormal Code, and Facebook Paranormal Code, and I'll be posting a lot of videos up there and a lot of good stuff about to come out on the Paranormal Code. So I hope you guys check it out, as I will for you too. And that is that.
And again, thank you very much. I listened to your last episode with Jesse. He unfortunately could not make it tonight. I have to say, I've not heard so much swearing since the last time I actually heard one of my shows. And you guys mispronounced my name. It's not Ziegler. It's Zuger. I'm just pulling your chain, man. It's a good show. You guys do good work, and thank you very much for coming on. Joseph.
Yeah, like he was saying, my show's called Lighting the Void at lightingthevoid.com. Comes on every Tuesday, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm also the producer of the Fringe.fm, producer and owner of that network, and which Rich's show comes on too, and a ton of other shows. So go check out that digital network if you get time.
And just a shameless plug, I'll be on Wednesday's show this coming up.
Yep.
So
that's right. Can't wait.
And to Joe.
Well, I haven't updated in a while, but now I'm going to have to update it. It's a drudge report for liberals. It's mergereport.com, MERGE report. And I also, on the right column, try to focus on paranormal UFO stuff, try to stick with solid stuff, and it's kind of hard to find a lot of times. And when I'm not working in television, I drive for Uber, and I try to get passengers to talk about paranormal. And usually, most of the time, it's silence, but I've gotten some good stories. And so mystrangerstories.com or mystrangerstories.net, plural, stories. And I had some pretty good stories recently I have to write up, surprisingly.
Well, thank you very much. And again, it's thank you very much for making it back so quickly from work and for joining us this afternoon where you are. Walter?
Okay. I have a blog, empireofthewheel.blogspot.com. I get into some of the other stuff that I've researched that not related to UFOs and things. Also, my books are print on demand only at lulu.com. You can find my nonfiction and fiction. I write weird pulp fiction novels. They're a lot of fun. You can find both of those. Just look my name up on lulu.com. And then, of course, I do commentary videos at the Walter Bosley channel on YouTube. Commentary and research related videos I post about every couple of weeks. And if you go there, when you see me talking about the Society of Lizards, no, I am not talking about reptilians.
Hey, what was your last name again?
Bosley, Walter Bosley.
And just a quick shout out to Joe from the Carolinas who joined us in chat. I know that a couple of you already know who Joe is, and he has been a good friend of the Den of Lore, and much appreciated for you joining us tonight. To Michael Huntington.
Well, I do the occasional radio show with you. We do Enigmas and shit.
Enigmas and shit.
Which is sort of an irreverent. It's more like sports commentary for the UFO world. We do that every other week or so on I get like Mondays or Tuesdays. Mostly, I'm a travel writer, a paranormal travel writer. I travel around with my family to UFO locations, historic UFO locations, haunted houses, cryptid sighting locations, and I blog about those. I'm on all social media. You can find a lot of that stuff. I give it away for free, but ultimately all this is going into some books and to some art projects. I do have a regular job and I do have kids, so I'm not at the full-time level with this. I pretty much get out there and I explore the community and explore the history and the folklore and try to document it. That's pretty much it. And
finally, to that guy.
And that is spelled THAT space GUY. I'm that guy from the Healers and Hellraisers podcast. I'm an up and coming podcast. I have yet to even release my first episode, but we're in process. The show's going to be, it's pretty much kind of self-explanatory. Healers and Hellraisers. My first guest is going to be the Praying Medic, which you can find at theprayingmedic.com. Excellent guy. And the guy after that is an ex-hitman for the Italian mob, French mob, and a couple other places. Cool. So it's going to be a really interesting show. I've got a lot of guests lined up, real similar to that. And you can also find me on the Halloween episode of Grimerica with Dave Bryan, who was definitely one of the healers / Hellraisers. So anyways, have a good night, you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And again, I'm just going to give a plug to Grimerica, one of the greatest podcasts on the planet, and one of the reasons why this show exists. Darren, Graham, thank you very much for all of your support, as well as your time tonight. I hope the snow does not hit you too hard. And again, hopefully get to listen to you guys in the igloo soon. So, and my name is, let's see if I can actually just switch back here. Give me a second, guys. My name is Chris George Zuger. I am the host of Den of Lore. And next week's show, we actually have a few coming up. Again, check out denoflore.com. Check out the Twitter page, twitter.com/denoflore. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and go check out the Patreon page because I disseminate the news everywhere. Next week on the show, I actually should have had this available. I do apologize. No, I'll just double check the calendar. So, again, I just want to be able to thank you while I'm bringing this all up here, guys, for coming on tonight. And next week, we've got Laura London on Friday. That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I believe is 5 p.m. Pacific. I could be wrong. 5 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to have Laura London on talking about Jung philosophy. She has a podcast, Speaking of Jung, go check it out. And it should be a very interesting and thoughtful evening. So, guys, for you all, I'm going to play the outro music. And, Michael, you'll know this one because it is our Enigmas and Shit theme song. No, it is not, actually. Oh, I remembered. I reloaded all the music on this one. Do I actually have it on here? Well, shit. So...
Guys, I'm going to skip out. I got to go pick up my kid from work.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, Chris.
It's a pleasure to have you.
See you, Walter.
See you, Walter.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, this one's actually from a friend of mine, Abe Van Dam. This is Shake It. Give a good shit out. I know Abe listens to the show. He's a producer. Go check him out. And for all of you gents out there and ladies and denizens and space aliens, reptilians of all kinds, especially to you deep state folks who've been watching the show, this has been the Den of Lore. Thank you all, and have yourselves a good night. I will see you in the Discord. And signing off.